Welcome to Bold Conscious Connections. My name is Raju Panjwani and I'm a certified leadership coach.
And I'm Triccia Ramos, a certified high performance coach. Together, we help business leaders redefine success on their terms to create more space and energy so that they live impactful lives.
Everyone wants to be seen, heard, and understood. So at a deeper level, we know that the collective consciousness is important to raise in this world, and leaders who are influencers can make that difference. We, in our coaching programs, teach people how to focus on the interconnectedness, heart-centeredness, and growth from within. And this is what this podcast will be about.
So stay tuned and subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts.
Talk to you very soon. Welcome to Bold Conscious Connections. This episode is really directed at coaches, whether you're new or been an experienced one. We know that you have gifts that you're offering to the world. And oftentimes what trips you up is the idea of enrolling. The enrollment conversation's often scary for most people. So you know that you're doing a big disservice to the world if you don't get this part of your business mastered. Most of coaches, just love to, share, create, teach courses or do one-on-ones or do group sessions, but they're somehow scared to death of selling or enrollment. And there's a big difference between the two because those conversations are different. So today, my partner Triccia Ramos, who she has really done some great work with enrollment in the past. She's been very successful with that. So I thought that perhaps we can touch on some of the important topics that affect coaches out there, who want to bring their voice to the world, help as many people as they can. And this is a big obstacle for many of you out there. So Triccia, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited for this topic today because this is so important for every coach out there to not just embrace, but to master. Because if you can master this conversation, you'll be able to expand your reach and help as many people as possible.
Absolutely. So perhaps we should go to the very beginning of when you started to get into the coaching business and when you quit your 20-year career at a big corporation. What was that? What was the genesis? What was that decision point that got you to really get into this business? And then we can talk about enrollment in a bit.
Yes, I've always loved listening to people, having conversations with people. And even I have memories of being a young girl and listening to adults talking and just asking them questions. And they would look at me sort of with those wondering eyes like, what question are you asking me? And wow, that's actually a really good question. So throughout my life, in the 20 years I was in corporate, it didn't really matter if it was somebody who reported to me or someone I reported to or a peer. I really just had a knack for being able to help facilitate somebody's thinking so that their perspective could be broadened. And I saw that every time and any time that a breakthrough occurred in a conversation, that it would really empower the individual in front of me and inspire them to take a different course of actions. And then that would create the results that they wanted to see. So the more I saw that, the more I realized that this is really what I wanted to do with my time. And this is the kind of work that I want to do. And I really believe in empowering people and helping them reclaim their voices so that they could show up authentically and really spread that good positive energy that we all have inside of us and we all want as well.
So what is it about today? You've been doing it for a couple of years now, and we're together working on not just this but other businesses together. What is it about enrollment? The word enrollment obviously is used in institutions. Students apply and you enroll. Obviously, that's the industry term for coaching as well. But often people just get scared of that conversation. What do you think that is?
I think that as a coach, if you are scared of that enrollment conversation, it's because you haven't yet made the connection that the conversation is not about you or your ability to sell your program. That conversation is about the client or the prospective client and their ability to believe in themselves with your help, with your skills, right? So enrollment is really about you as the coach navigating a conversation that will allow the person in front of you to start believing in themselves or start remembering why they ought to believe in themselves. So you're not enrolling them into you. You're actually enrolling them into the best and highest vision of themselves. And that is why I love enrollment conversations, because if I can have a 1 hour or even 45, 30-minute conversation with someone where they walk away feeling more powerful than they ever have before, then I know whether or not they enroll with me, I know that I made the most of that time and they got the most value.
So in that conversation, what are you looking for? You're obviously a good listener, and you're in the conversation you're having with them, you're taking in what they're saying, and then what is it that gets them to really feel the difference in the conversation you're having with them? And I guess all coaches want that.
Well, we all have conversations with people throughout the day. And believe it or not, most of the time, even though we're talking to other people, we're really only having a conversation with ourselves. And what most people do, unless you're a skilled listener, usually you're just waiting for the other person to stop talking so that you can continue expressing your viewpoint. And that is really the standard. Like, that is how the most of the world communicates. And so hats off to all great coaches out there that really make it their mission to have the other person in front of them feel heard, seen, and understood. Because most of us go through our day-to-day not having the space to be able to explore our ideas, not having the space to be able to reflect from within. And, reflections with yourself are powerful on their own. But imagine if someone was asking you questions that you weren't expecting, and how much deeper you could go if that question was asked and then the space was now provided for you to actually explore it without judgment, right? And without wrong or right. It just allows any individual to really be able to open up. And we're so busy, and we're so busy giving advice to other people. Like, I think that's the thing. Like, we love our friends and our family, and obviously they're in our lives for a reason. But have you ever had the experience where you wanted to talk about something and all of a sudden it becomes about them and what they did when they had something similar?
All the time.
Right.
All the time.
Right. But
That's human nature, the way we sort of been conditioned to operate, right?
Right. Because that is the other person. Most of us are in our own heads.
That's right.
Right. And so, as a coach is committed to actually creating that space for that other individual to come in, and for that moment, however long the conversation is, for that individual to come in and be held in that space, so that learning and that emotionalizing of the awareness can happen.
I've been with you on coaching calls, quite a few of them. So I'm telling you, Triccia is very, very solid and effective in helping people improve a connection with themselves. So
thank you.
So in this particular environment that we're in, the pandemic and the world shutdown, enough studies have shown that coaching and self-learning and really looking within has exploded. Mostly in the past, people have associated coaches with perhaps athletes, professional athletes who their coaches may not be, proficient in their particular, sport that they're coaching them on, but it's about how they conduct their business with the athlete or with the particularly I think it's athletes where we hear most the term used, and then there is maybe health and fitness to some extent. They call them personal trainers, but there are coaches obviously in every walk of life.
And there's a lot of executive coaches out there who work with that
Exactly.
C-suite level, because I think at certain levels of performance, those people don't get to that level of performance
Without coaching.
without the help of coaches. Because really, when you're trying to break through barriers that exist for most, you do need help.
Exactly. So in that context, what I wanted to see if there was any way to demystify or help people understand the difference between, because I think most of us coaches are scared of this conversation because we think it's selling. Can you distinguish between selling and enrolling, since you do that so well?
Sure. I started saying before that enrollment call for me, it's successful if the other person walks away having more of a belief in themselves than they did when they first entered it.
Right.
So for me, enrollment is really it's the conversation in which you get the client or the prospect to commit to doing personal or professional development work so that they can then engage that higher version of themselves, right? So enrollment is really benefiting that other person. Like, it would behoove them to do this, to do this work with a coach, because on the other side of them doing it is them reaching their next level of growth, right? Getting closer and closer to their highest potential. And then sales is sales. Like, really, you have a service you provide or a product you're selling, and somebody buys it, and in exchange they get that product or that service. So listen, we're really talking about words here. For me, enrollment engages me on a higher level, but it's also still sales.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you cannot sell your service, then you're not going to be able to serve. So enrollment,
or a product, or
yeah. So I think that I don't want any coach listening to this to get caught up between one or the other. The idea is that for you to be able to impact as many people as you can with your skills as a coach, you as a coach probably became a coach because you have this inherent desire to help someone to make their lives a little bit easier than perhaps yours was. Maybe you figured out a way how to overcome trauma that you've experienced, your own deep traumas, and you want to help other people going through theirs. Or maybe you have a way, it's just coaches become coaches because they just have this desire to help others, to cut their pain that they could potentially experience. And that's why I love coaches, and I am one for that reason, because I think that life is hard enough, so let's help each other out, right? And at the same time, if you are not going to go into that conversation with conviction and your ability to do your work well, to do your craft well, if you're not going to go in there with the conviction that actually by working with you, that person's life could dramatically improve, well, then why bother, right? Like, why even do it? Because the thing is, that enrollment conversation, if you can actually have that conversation and cause a breakthrough in that conversation, that's the very first time you'll have the ability to show your client or the prospect the benefit of getting coaching, because you're able to demonstrate in that conversation what a shift in their perspective could mean. That perhaps the way they've been thinking about something has kept them exactly where they are. And if they were willing to look at it from another angle, it can open up a whole new world of possibilities for them. So the enrollment call is actually your first opportunity to be able to coach your client to the next level.
So yeah, I was going to say, so the coaching call, the enrollment call itself is like a coaching call, or a little window into what that coaching might be like.
You're demonstrating it, right?
You're demonstrating
I mean, a good enrollment call is not so much you talking about your program.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not that at all, actually. A good enrollment call is you asking your client a lot of questions so that they can verbally articulate what it is that perhaps they've just been holding on to, or it's been swimming in their head and like crowding their minds. People will come to an enrollment call 9 times out of 10 because they're looking for clarity. So the more you allow people to be able to think out loud and to actually listen to the things that are coming out of their mouths and to invite them to hear what they're saying, the better the chances are that they'll walk away having more clarity. So it isn't about you talking about your program. It's actually you holding space, like I said, asking powerful questions, taking it deeper, and, you know, until you can hear, like, what is it that is getting in the way of this client.
Okay, to then summarize, what would be the top 3 things that coaches need to get from what we're saying today and what you're telling them? So that I know there are many things you just touched on, but what would be the top 3 things they should be concerned about and get involved?
I mean, we talk about this in some of our programs. You know, we have a program called Bold Conscious Leadership, and we define bold in 5 elements. And one of the elements that we define bold as is having humility. And I think the first thing here is recognizing that the enrollment call is not about you. And even though you are performing it, it's not about you, it's about the client. So if you can remove yourself and your ego and detach from the outcome of whether or not they enroll, you'll do a much better job of asking questions and listening. And I think that is probably the first thing.
Yep.
Start there, that it's not a reflection of you. It really is your ability to get yourself out of the center of the picture and put your client in the center of that picture so that you can serve them in that moment. So that's number 1. Number 2 is your energy. You know, are you coming on that call ready? Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, right? Because if you're lacking in energy, you hear that word no the first time, or you feel some sort of pushback from the client, or you hear something where they're challenging you. If you're low in energy, it's going to be really hard to pull up your conviction, which is your ability to come across as convinced in your way, in this thing that you're trying to enroll them into. And conviction is another one of those elements of boldness that we talk about. Because, you know, I don't know about you, but some of the most influential people I know, coaches I know, they have really high conviction and they speak emphatically. You know, they are not going to shy away from an objection. So in any conversation, whether you're in corporate, you're in a selling environment, or certainly in an enrollment call, you're going to have objections as soon as you make that offer. And if it doesn't come up, you should look for it. But when you hear that first objection, the better your energy is, the more high energy you are, I would say the better chances you have of leaning into that. Like, I will often immediately notice, like, if I make the offer and the client's body language shifts or their energy, their voice changes, I don't let that go. Like, I literally, oh, okay, I just told you this is the program, and I just saw a significant change in your energy.
And
or,
you call them on it, right?
I do. It's, you know, tell me what you're experiencing right now, because I just saw your energy shift. So what's going through your mind? Because a minute ago, you were really excited about the prospect of, you know, making these changes and actually, like, creating your vision, making it a reality. And so now what are you experiencing? Talk to me about that, because that's actually something, as a coach, you want them to bring that to the forefront so that you can work through it and help them work through it. You know, and I think that if you have high energy, you will be able to tap into that. But if you are tired, or you didn't get enough sleep the night before, or maybe you're not as connected with yourself,
Or you're stressed about this conversation.
or you're like thinking about, how am I doing? Are they going to enroll? And if they don't, am I going to be able to pay my bills? If you're dissipating your energy in all those directions, your ability to really zero in on focus on that client is going to be diminished.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think about Michael Jordan, one of the greatest athletes. His secret was he only focused on that game.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't look at the season and focus on all 70-something games.
Right.
He literally made it a point to play whatever that game was that he was playing, and put his best foot forward. And whatever was past was behind him. He already forgot about that, right? And so if you're listening to this and you've had a slump, maybe you've had like a series of calls and you haven't enrolled anybody, let that go, right? Like, let this be the present moment where you decide, you know what? That's over. Let me focus on this conversation. And then don't worry about future conversations. Just focus on that one and get your energy right. So that's 2.
That's 2. Humility and energy.
Humility and energy, because the energy allows you to have conviction. And then the third thing I would say would be skill up. Skill up. By listening to this podcast, or, working with coaches, hire a coach that can help you amp up your enrollment game, or talk to other people who, have had success with this. How did they overcome whatever challenges they had in the beginning? But just know that where you are currently today does not reflect your full potential. So really have the desire to get better at it, and then take the steps to get better at it. Do it. Don't just sit and watch and say, I'm a great coach. I'll just never be great at enrollment. Nah, because you're not doing the world any service if you resign yourself to that. So the third tip would be choose and decide to get better and skill up on your enrollment.
Awesome. Well, that's so helpful, and it's so well comprehensively thought through, Triccia. We hope
there's
that
way more than
way
that.
more than that.
Way more.
So we're giving you just the 3 tips. So how do they, they can reach us on livemasterminds.com, but what are the other ways that they can connect with us if they need to know more, they want to know more, they want to learn more, and become really, really good at it on the third point of the upskilling aspect of it?
We're on Instagram, Bold Conscious Leaders. We're also on Facebook. And I would say, on there, what we post, stories and content about enrollment. And also you can follow me at triciaramos.com. I will be talking about this topic often. It's really something that is near and dear to us, because we know that a coach's ability to increase their impact and their influence will really begin with their ability to be able to be enrolling. So this is really something you'll see us more and more focusing on. And watch out, stay tuned for an online course that Live Masterminds is going to be dropping in the next few weeks. And you can certainly enroll in that. Get it? Enroll in that.
Yes. Yeah.
And that could be the beginning of you. Or, it could be in addition to what you already do to skill up on your enrollment skills.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate this conversation. Thank you so much, Triccia. And you guys, again, a lot of coaches out there who get certified, and in their programs, typically what we see is that people have not really learned how to market themselves, or to get so you can get to the enrollment call. And the whole process is fraught with such discomfort, and we would like to change that. So keep in touch. Bold Conscious Connections is our podcast, and livemasterminds.com is our website. So we look forward to being in touch.
Thank you.